Well, good morning, Breakfast with the Broker, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. or thereabouts. We had a couple of little technical difficulties, so we got those fixed and ready for a Tuesday morning, which kind of feels like a Monday morning after Labor Day. So hopefully you guys had a great weekend and a great Labor Day weekend and enjoyed. So without further ado, and now, by way of Boca Raton, Florida, he is a luxury realtor at Douglas Elliman. He specializes in luxury coastal properties. He is the co-founder of the Intrepid Boat Owners Club. He's a member of the Boca Chamber of Commerce. He has been in the radio, movie, and television industry as an actor and voiceover professional. He's a husband, a friend, and he loves his Intrepid. Stand up and make some noise for Jeff Wilson.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning.
Thanks for having me, David.
Oh, absolutely, Jeff. Thank you very much. And yes, you do have that radio voice.
Yeah, I got it. I tell everybody I got it from my mom.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Why'd you get in the real estate business and why luxury?
Well, years ago when I was a little tot growing up in Puerto Rico, I was always fascinated by these beautiful homes overlooking the water, beautiful view. They're just incredible. And you always wonder who owns these homes? What do they look like on the inside? And I was always fascinated by it.
Yeah, so your journey brought you to Puerto Rico, and it's different. What made your family move to Puerto Rico and then back here?
Well, my real parents split up when I was 2, and I guess my mom met this guy and they got married when I was 10, and all of a sudden we're moving to Puerto Rico. And the only thing I knew would be like Gilligan's Island. I would be talking out of coconuts and living in a tree. But it was their industry. My stepfather is in the hotel restaurant business. My mom is in the marine shipping business. So next thing I knew, we were going to Puerto Rico.
That's great. So interesting luxury real estate. As you said, the curiosity is amazing. People are like, oh, well, who lives here and who lives, and tell us a little bit about luxury real estate and how it basically buyers ask you all the time or sellers ask you all the time. How's the market? Well, how's the luxury market here in South Florida?
Well, my answer is always going to be paradise is almost recession proof. I feel the market is still doing well. Prices are stabilizing, I think, a little bit, but I think there'll always be that person that can afford and want to live in South Florida. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, no, agreed. And waterfront itself, is so important. I mean, you live the boat life.
Yes, I do.
And tell us a little bit about the waterfront. What makes it unique in South Florida, specifically in the Boca Del Rey area?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think one thing that's very important to me in my life is my lifestyle. And there is a certain lifestyle that comes with living on the water, having the boat in the backyard, and just having that view to wake up to and to go to sleep with. And I just feel that it's very, very important for me to be able to emotionally be able to sell where I would live.
Sure.
I wouldn't live out west. My car stalls at Dixie. But I just feel that I can relate to my buyers and relate to my sellers a lot more if it's near the water or on the water.
Sure. And when you're going out luxury real estate, everyone wants to know, how you get into luxury real estate. Where's your first listing coming from? How you prospecting? What are you doing? What value can you add to our listeners that maybe agents are trying to just increase their average sale price, or discussing, maybe tactics or things that luxury realtors could be doing, to enter that luxury landscape?
Well, I always say there's not one way to sell 10 homes, but there is 10 ways to sell one.
Mhm.
So no matter what you're doing, no matter what type of client you're going for, whether it's the new construction out west or the condominium market, continue to do what you're doing. Even if somebody's listing a $10 million home or a $1 million home, they're still people. And then, you treat them like you would want to be treated. You're very professional, and you make sure you know that market and how to manage and how to market that type of house.
And where are your clients coming from? Like a lot of our listeners are trying to, they're real estate agents, they're colleagues like you and I. But they're also, potentially looking and say, wow, he's got a $6 million, $10 million, $12 million listing. How does he get that? What specifically, if you were an agent just starting out, or maybe an agent that was experienced that says, I'm looking to get into that luxury field or that luxury clientele, what would be the first thing or maybe tips that you could add to someone who is looking to get into it?
Well, first I tell them to go to another state. We don't need any more competition around here. But no, to be honest with you, my main source is pressing flesh.
Mhm.
Getting out there, knowing people and just loving meeting people. My wife and I go out and socialize a lot. We're members of the Boca Raton. We've gotten a lot of business out of there. It's just really pressing flesh and getting to know people, and flooding the market with your marketing material.
I hate every time someone says the Boca Raton, and I know that's what it's
I know.
saying. And it's such a sore subject for me because I used to work there as a valet and a bellman, and and I remember it as the Boca Raton Resort. I still call it the Boca Resort and the Boca Raton Beach Club, and when they changed I was on the water actually yesterday with on my dad's boat, and
Oh, okay.
and I'm looking at the tower and I'm real close up, and I'm like, yeah, I really still like the old pink.
Yeah, and I say the Boca Raton in case I have to be politically correct on your show,
I
but I
know.
appreciate you saying the Boca Resort, because I catch myself saying that all the time as well. I don't really like the name the Boca Raton, but the resort is the way I've always known it.
Still
And
waiting for the monkey bar to really come back.
yeah, definitely. And I'm hoping that's a base color they're painting and not
Right.
the final color that they're
Right.
painting the
It's
tower.
just a primer.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
It's interesting, because as just talking about the Boca Resort, and what an amazing property is. We always say, like, the closer you get to the tower, the more expensive the real estate gets, and certainly the most expensive areas are surrounding the Boca Resort. Um, you talked about, really, pressing flesh and getting out there and building relationships, and becoming either, and I always thought it was very important to do what you love, right? You founded this, or you co-founded this Intrepid Boat Owners Club. Tell us a little bit about that and what was the impetus for it.
Well, I've grown up around boats. When I moved to Puerto Rico when I was 10, I immediately started working at a scuba diving shop and started taking the tourists out diving, and was on a boat every day. So the boating lifestyle is something that was ingrained in my bloodstream long time ago. Um, I always knew the Intrepid boat, and I love the looks of it and the lines of it and the quality of it. And my wife and I were sitting at a restaurant on the water, and this guy pulls up in an Intrepid. I'm like, wow, how beautiful is that? And she's like, go talk to him, go talk to him. So I went over and talked to him, like, right away, let's go for a ride. And I was hooked. So right then and there, my wife and I, we decided we were going to go get an Intrepid, and we went and got one. And and between Joe Mandolia, my friend, and I, that we said, there's got to be a passion for these boats out there. And so we restarted the club. He had started it years ago, but then we kind of restarted it, and we've grown to almost 1,000 Intrepid boats.
That's really cool.
Owners, part of our club, and we go to Bimini and we do raft ups and have a good time. And so it's not where we rent the boats. A lot of people say, "Oh, you have a club? Okay, how much do you rent the boats
Right.
for?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no." But we definitely have a good time.
That's great. Do you allow anybody but Intrepids, or is it just an Intrepid owner?
Actually, if you don't own an Intrepid, you're not allowed to join the club.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a lot of people that request that. Oh, I like them. I'm thinking of getting one,
Right.
and you can't, not yet.
No, I
And
like
it's
that.
and it's funny too, because my wife and I were looking at a Tiara, another beautiful boat, and Now you're going to kick me out of my own club. So I said, no, we'll stick with the Intrepid.
I'm sure, over the years, you've gotten business out of it just from, because you talk about building relationships and, and any club and any passion that you have certainly brings in, a business, right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Over the
always,
years.
one of my mottos, I guess you would call it, is if your boat's not in your backyard, give me a call. Because that's the best thing to do is wake up, be able to just jump on your boat and go. I don't
Right.
know. I don't remember the last time we went to dinner in a car.
Right.
We jump on the boat, we go to dinner, we go do everything on a boat. So you have to have it in the backyard. That's my one of my main principles. But it's a blast to be able to make the living on the water, boating on the water part of your career as well. That's why I'm known as your neighbor on the water, because not only I live on the water, but I sell on the water.
Right.
And I also, and if you are buying a home from me on the water, I'm going to help you buy a boat. I'm going to help you learn how to drive the boat. I may even take you to look at the house on my boat.
That's great.
So it's a lot of what I do.
No, I love it. My parents got a Grady White,
Great boats. Great boats.
32-foot Grady White, and it's beautiful. But it's the process, right? The process of trying to not dock, not putting it on the lift, taking it off the lift, cleaning the boat, getting out there and understanding the rules, the etiquette of what I mean. South Florida, most boaters don't have etiquette, but
you said it, not me. But definitely you have to be a very defensive boat driver.
Yeah.
But the cleaning of the boat and the taking care of the boat and docking and all that's kind of like my zen.
Yeah.
It's my moment alone where I can put on the music and just chill out and clean the boat. And you're still on the water, even if you're working, cleaning the boat, you're on the water.
Right.
And it just feels great.
That's awesome. So you mentioned briefly about showing homes on the water, right? And showing it from your boat. Do you do this quite a bit? And a lot of times what people don't understand, and maybe you could enlighten us, is the width of the canals, does the canal need to be dredged? What's the clearance on the bridges and all these different things that a lot of agents may not know, and certainly consumers may not know.
Right.
So knowledge is power. So tell us a little bit about the process that you go through with someone who hasn't owned on the water.
Well, there's been a time when I could not sell the house to them because their boat would not fit in the backyard.
Right.
And it's kind of a shame, but you have to know, I always ask, if I'm asking you how many bedrooms you need, it's the same thing as what kind of boat do you have, or are you going to be getting a boat? What size boat are you going to be getting? And I have to know the width of the canal, because there's houses across the canal. They have a boat and you have a boat, and there's boat traffic in between. So you have to know the beam, which is the width of the boat, and the length of the boat. Make sure that you have 10-foot easements on both sides of the house. So you have to make sure the boat can fit, or at least be honest with them and say, if you are going to get a boat, this is the size boat you can purchase up to. So, and it's really not a brain science, but it is something that you need to know to be able to market the home properly.
Sure. And people think like, all right, well, you got a 40-foot dock. Well, you could fit a 40-foot boat. It's not always the case.
That's definitely not the case. Definitely not the case.
And so, and maybe you have some wisdom, right? So, what's the best canals to be on in Boca and Delray that you think?
Well, I know that there are certain neighborhoods that have wider canals. And like Boca Bay Colony, their canals are amazing. Lake Rogers, Boca Harbor tends to be a little bit smaller canals. Where I lived on 71st Street for a little bit, it's a smaller canal.
Sure.
But knowing not only your canal widths, but also where is it positioned? Is it all the way, is the house all the way at the end of the canal, or is it closer to the intracoastal? That plays a little bit in value as well. But and also, as far as what you said about dredging, towards the end of the canal, there's usually a depth issue
Hmm.
that they have to contend with. So I like measuring the depth during low tide, so they know what's the worst case scenario is.
Right.
But there's quite a few things on a list that you have to kind of look into.
When you're at the end of the canal, you have typically have a better view, but typically that's not what a boater typically wants. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it not only takes you longer to get not only out of the canal and into the intercoastal, but also you have more stagnant water. Sometimes I know in Fort Lauderdale, uh, lots of trash can accumulate at the end of the canal. I've never seen it up here. I don't know
Right.
why, but it seems like either it's the flow or people are just cleaner. But it's Boca Raton clean people.
Right.
But I think it's more the location than it is what the canal has. Now, also, you're having a turnaround at the end of the canal, so your dock space might be a little smaller as well, especially if you're in that circle.
Sure.
Yeah, that could be an issue as well.
It was funny, being out on the water yesterday. I didn't notice it before, but the city of Boca Marine Security, or city of Boca Police Security, has Intrepids.
Yeah, all the and all the sheriffs, all the
Yeah.
Boca Raton sheriffs, they're all in Intrepids. We all wave to each other, try to stay on their good side as best I can. But yeah, I notice that too all the time. And anytime I see a house on the water with an Intrepid, I tend to knock on the door and welcome them to the club.
Right.
Hint, hint.
That's
Introduce myself.
that's awesome. So, I saw that you is different, I guess, but I saw that you were in radio, movies, and television. How'd that come about, and what and anything that we've heard of?
Well, when I was, I don't even remember how old I was. I went into broadcasting school, and
Hmm.
everybody keeps telling me about this voice. So I said, "All right, let me start believing people." So I went to a broadcasting school and had a blast, and started working at WXEL in Palm Beach,
Sure.
the station there, and it was also Channel 42 for the PBS. So after working the midnight to 7 in the morning shift for years and not having a life, they asked me to move to the television side of it. So I did, and became a cameraman, uh, floor director, whatever you're multitasking when you work for PBS.
Sure.
So I got in front of the camera a few times, and that was kind of fun. So I got an agent and just started working different commercials and voiceovers and movies. I think probably the most famous movie I've ever been in was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective
Oh,
with Jim Carrey. I was an extra, but it was still great to meet him and work with him.
that was
But
awesome.
Florida is a non-union state, so it's kind of tough to make it here. In radio, you know, you could get a great job in Kansas. You can, have to move to California or New York if you're serious about getting in front of the camera. And I just wasn't, I had no interest in leaving Florida.
Right.
I just love South Florida so much that I ended up leaving the career to go on and do something different.
Certainly, your passion shows in boating and Intrepid and South Florida real estate.
Well, back then, what you may not know about is when I was 35, 36, I got into the martial arts. And after 18 years, when I left real estate the first time, when I left,
They sucked you back in.
yeah, well, it was back then, I don't know, it just seemed like the thing to do. But I went to work at a martial arts school, a dojo, and fell in love with the martial arts. And after 18 years, I opened up my own dojo. Again, the one in Seagate and the one out west. So I did that for about 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I left teaching scuba diving to get back into real estate, and left real estate, to do the boating thing, and then got back into the martial arts.
So you basically held your breath, went back into real estate, then fought through everything, and I came back into real estate.
Yes. Yes.
It's like you love knocking your
I don't
head
know
into
who
the
I was
wall.
pretending to be fighting, but no.
Well, not there's a lot of people I think that as real estate relates to combat fighting, it's pretty apropos.
Right. Well, it's only for protecting myself. So
Right,
a
right,
couple little old ladies I had to protect myself against. That one condo deal.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So, when you get a nice listing, what are you marketing? How are you marketing it?
Well, I have a marketing firm that that works with me. They're out of Nebraska called Oh Hello. I love them. They're great. And then I also have a great marketing department in Douglas Elliman. Their marketing department and PR department is great. And then again, I have my own little uh, my assistant and I. We have our own little marketing plan that we kind of put out together. But it's 10 ways to sell one home. You got to do, and 10 is kind of a low number. There's a
Right.
lot of things that we do to market a home right now.
Agreed. So, you also with your wife have done a podcast or have been doing a podcast. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm also becoming a life coach through the life coach school. Brooke Castillo has a school that she put out, and it's amazing. And probably most of the benefits of becoming a life coach are on myself, because they say the first thing you have to do is kind of coach yourself, and with the mindset and the way your thoughts are and the way you prepare for your day. A lot of what I do with the life coach school, I use on myself, and it helps me a lot. So my wife, who's also a divorce attorney, who is starting another law firm that to be announced, and then she's also a life coach as well. She's been doing it probably 5 6 years. She's amazing at it. She had a podcast. Well, she has a podcast called Your Amazing Divorce, and we decided to go to into business together with the life coaching, and I joined the Your Amazing Divorce podcast. So we didn't kind of start a new one. I just kind of sat in, and now we're together doing the podcast together, and it's a lot of fun. I love doing this, being behind the microphone again. It's been such a long time that it's kind of exciting for me just to get back in here.
No, it is. I mean, it's interesting. People always say, "Well, how do I get involved in podcasting, or how do I get involved in being in front of a camera, Facebook Live, or whatnot?" And really, it's just you just got to do it.
Just do it.
I mean, literally, we all have something to say, and there are people that are going to gravitate to you, and there are people going to be turned off by you, and you got to accept that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to want to listen to this podcast, but our objective is to perpetuate professionalism and collaboration within our real estate industry and give value back to our real estate agents. And not everyone's going to want to hear that.
Oh, you still invited me? Wow, that's great. All that professionalism stuff.
Well, listen, flip-flops are still professional,
Yeah, well, that's my favorite thing about podcasts. I don't need to do my hair, But yeah.
So I always end the conversation on 2 questions. All right. What is your favorite all-time streaming series or movie? And what are you currently watching?
Okay, I'm going to say my favorite was Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Only because it just, the action and the way it was the cinematography, and just I loved it. And then we started watching Westworld last night.
Okay.
My son gave me a few tips on a couple of them, and as intense as it is, we're trying to follow it, and I think that's what we're going to try to watch for a little bit. But we haven't really found that series that we love.
So
Besides $1 Million Listing, of course.
right. Hey, we had Ryan Serhant on here.
Oh yeah.
Not too long ago, a couple years ago. It's funny because Game of Thrones, I'm not like a Dungeons and Dragons or medieval kind of person. No, I really don't like a whole lot of fiction.
Mhm.
But that series was ridiculous because I think the Red Wedding episode is basically
Yeah.
what just kind of hooks you. But the House of Dragons, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's the prequel comes out every Sunday on HBO Max, and wow, they did a phenomenal job. There's only been 3 episodes that have been released so far,
Right.
and it's phenomenal. Have you seen it yet?
I saw the first episode and I'm not buying in yet. I'm trying.
Well, that first one was like shocking, gory, and all of it.
Yeah, I think what happens is put on the show and just so many things happen that I lose my focus on the show.
Sure.
The dog's got to go out, the fish need to be fed, you got to go clean the boat again. There's a lot of things. So I'm trying also not to watch so much television.
Yeah.
And listen to your podcast more often.
Of course, everyone is.
Of course.
Well, listen, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming in and at Pod Populi in Boca Raton in Royal Palm Place. And you guys are doing some amazing things, not just podcasting, but certainly selling a lot of luxury real estate. Is there a specific listing you want to pitch right now?
Well, I have a great listing in Harbor East, 767 Harbor Drive. On the water, of course. And I have another beautiful one in Lighthouse Point that looks like a little medieval castle with stained glass windows and everything. It's such a unique piece of property. Big water. It's got a lot of water, but probably the one that I'm most excited about. I don't know if you've seen that long pier sticking out in Lake Wyman.
Yeah,
we have a new construction going on right there. It's called Manatee Point at Lago Mar. And that's going to be a 3-story condo with 3 units, each unit having their own floor. And if you want some renderings and some information about it, give me a call.
Oh, that's awesome. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for telling us a little bit about the new construction, because there's not a whole lot of land to be putting new construction, certainly on waterfront anymore. And we certainly appreciate it. Listen, Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We'll have another exciting guest next week and look forward to it. Have a great week, guys.